You ready?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to go out into regular session.
Got a motion? Need a second? Got a second? All in favor, say aye. Now, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second. First and a second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting is. I'll call this meeting to order. 5 o'clock p.m. on October 2nd, 2018. If you would please stand for the, first of all, she don't introduce, we don't have a 4-H girl to do the head of leaders. So after he does that, she can go ahead and recognize her, and then we will do the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Thank you.
Board members and audience, tonight we have Ms. Abby Henry, who is a 12th grade student at ECHS and attends the STEM program at the Effingham College and Career Academy. She serves as the president of the Effingham 4-H leadership team and stays involved in 4-H programs on the county, district, and state level. Abby is also a Georgia 4-H certified team leader, where she spends much of her time working with and encouraging younger 4-H members. She recently attended State 4-H Congress in Atlanta and placed second in the state in the project area of science and engineering. Abby is a true leader and always demonstrates excellence in all she does.
Give me the motion, I'm going to do the invocation, and then we'll do the pledge. Thank you.
Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you for our many blessings that you have given us. And at this time, please be with the Hurricane Florence victims and all of the rescue workers, Lord. Please be with our world leaders, and please be with us this evening to help us do your will. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started now, I'd like to welcome Mr. Roger Burdett. He's a new county commissioner. He's making his first night. So we want to all welcome Mr. Burdett. Thank you for being here. Next thing on the agenda, consideration of a resolution to approve the agenda.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we add new business number 8 for Mr. Clarence Morgan to go over his Sand Hill report.
I'll second that.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed likewise. Can you get that? That's number, new business number 8. Next thing on the agenda is the minutes. Consideration to approve the minutes of the September 18, 2018 regular commission meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Next thing on the agenda is public comments. We want you to get up and talk, but we'd like for you to keep it to agenda items only. And all the correspondence that we have, the documents for this meeting are located in the clerk's office and on the Board of Commissioners website. Next thing on our agenda is the consent agenda. We have 3 of them. If it's okay, I'm going to read all 3 of them, and we will okay them all at one time. The first one, and this is the second reading, which the first reading was approved 9/18/2018. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Beltline Energy, LLC, for conditional use to allow for the construction and operation of a solar power facility located on Springfield Egypt Road, map number 365, parcel number 27, in the 3rd District. The second one is a sanitation release. Consideration to approve sanitation releases as submitted by administrative staff. Number 3 is fire release. Consideration to approve fire releases as submitted by the administrative staff. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Make a motion to, in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? All right, at this time, we go into the planning board, old business, and I'm gonna step down, and Commissioner Deloach will take over, I think.
Y'all want to have, somebody want to make a motion?
We need a vote for him to act as chairman. So I need a motion for a vote.
Make a motion for Janet Deloach, Commissioner Deloach's.
Can you guys talk into the microphone there, please?
I make a motion that Commissioner Deloach will act as chairman during this part of the meeting. Good second. I second.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, good. Okay. All right, item number 1 on old business. The planning board recommends approving an application by Keith Johnson to rezone 47.37 acres located at 1635 Stillwell Road from AR1 to AR2, map number 427, parcel 14 in the 4th district. Ms. Ma'am.
Commissioners, this request for rezoning is to rezone the property currently zoned AR1 to AR2. The intent of the rezoning to allow for future subdivision of the property without having to come back and do individual rezonings for lot splits that might be less than 5 acres. I would like to state for the record that at this time we do not have a plan for the future subdivision, but anything that would exceed the threshold of a major subdivision would have to come back before this board for approval if it showed to be 3 lots or more.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Do we have anyone here at this time that would like to speak for this rezoning?
Keith Johnson, just concur with what she mentioned. Any questions you have for me? And I understand that if we go to do, we have to meet all the AR2 requirements.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Johnson? Okay, thank you. Anyone else that wishes to speak for this rezoning? If there are no others, is there anyone here that wishes to speak against this rezoning? Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve with the planning board staff recommendation. Second.
All right, a first and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. Item number 2, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Keith Johnson to rezone 47.37 acres. We'll not read that entire thing again, but that motion for the second reading.
Make a motion to approve the second reading. Second.
First and second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Like sign, motion carries. Thank you all.
Anyway. All right, I've had to step down from this item. This particular item is adjacent to some property, personal property. Next thing on the old business is a public hearing. Number 3, planning board recommends approving an application by William B. Hall for a room business use to allow for the brewing of beer for restaurants located at 215 Kiefer Road, map number 442, parcel number 21 in the 4th district. Okay, ma'am.
Commissioners, the applicant in this request is asking for approval of a rural business in order to brew beer on site. This beer will then be transported by the applicant business owner to restaurants. We did review this under the criteria for a rural business and found that it did comply with the restrictions that are placed on rural businesses. So I did make a recommendation for approval, and I would like to note that aside from conditions to comply with the requirements for rural businesses, there are added stipulations. The first one being that all production shall occur within a completely enclosed structure. And the second being that byproducts or waste from production of the malt shall be properly disposed of. Those things, along with the restrictions for rural businesses, should prevent any nuisances from occurring associated with this business.
Thank you. Is anybody that like to speak for this? Anyone out there would like to speak against it? All right. Do we have any comments from the board?
I would be curious as to how they plan to distribute their transportation areas. As far as it will be malt beer, will be bottled beer, will be large truck.
Well, I'm not sure about that, but he wants to start off with rural business, and then if he can make a go of it, then he will do something else. He got two restaurants in Savannah, so I guess he knows supply
It supplies all restaurants.
beer, and then if he gets some more, then he can do something else. He wants to get a start with the rural business, and then he will do better in a couple of years if he does all right. If he goes broke, then he'll quit. But anyway, I entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the planning board and staff recommendations.
Second motion.
I have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Anyone against? Opposed? The same. All right, we move on to the second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by William B. Hall for a rural business use to allow for the brewing of beer for restaurants located at 215 Kiefer Road, map 442, parcel number 21 in the 4th district. I'm going to need a motion.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, likewise.
Who's the second?
I second.
Okay, thank you.
Unanimous. All right, Mr. Chief, you want? Next thing on our agenda, number 5, is the public hearing.
If you could get that microphone near your mouth would help. Thank you, and I'm so glad if you could get it closer to you.
How about that?
Say something?
Can you hear me now?
That's wonderful.
Thank you. The planning board recommends approving an application by Joe Edge to rezone 52.487 acres located on Ebenezer Road from AR1 to R6, map 445, parcel number 26 in the 4th district. And this is a public hearing. Anybody would like to speak for this, please come to the microphone. Give us your name, please, for the record.
Good afternoon. Toss Allen, Allen Engineering, representing the owners in this particular project.
Well, yes, maybe I need to. I'm sorry, Jenny. She thinks I need to abstain from this also.
Okay.
Sorry.
Do we need another motion? Or can we?
No, do not. You're all right.
Okay, please proceed.
As stated, this is, I think it's right at 50 acres on Ebenezer Road that requesting rezoning to R6 from the current. The reason for the R6, I guess R1's 12,000 square foot lots. R6 allows 6,600 square foot. We want to be around 8,000. It's a little smaller than is allowed in R1, but not quite as small as R6. And that's just where the potential, or where the owners of this property feel like the market is, where they need to be able to hit the price point they want to be to sell houses and be successful in this particular market. And we do have a sketch plan on here behind this, so we can separate those, do them together, however you want to do. But again, we're asking for an R6 zoning for the purpose of a single-family residential subdivision. And minimum lot size we're looking at is about 8,000 square foot, 80 foot wide, 100 foot deep, be the minimums.
Okay.
How many lots?
Sir?
Lots of things when you put in there.
Right now, we're looking at 109, but the information we got, the boundaries COGO, there's not been an actual boundary survey done on it. The wetlands were done from a combination of a field visit and tabletop by a wetland consultant. But so they haven't actually been flagged and delineated and tied. The survey is based on LiDAR, so at the end of it, it may vary slightly. I don't know that we'll pick up any, but we may be, slightly less. I do know the city of Springfield wrote a letter, said 108 lots. I think it was probably what we had on the letter at the time. If that is truly what they have capacity for, it'll be limited to 108, but right now, 108, 109 lots, is what we're looking at.
What size house or ballpark are you looking at?
Probably gonna be around 1,800 to 2,200 each.
Okay.
And state your name for the record, please.
Jake Patrick. I'm a realtor at Sherman and M Street and helping support the same subdivision.
Okay.
And it could be smaller houses down to 1,600, it depends on cost at that time and what the lot price and, everything we get back out of it.
Clemens, do you have anything that you wanted to add?
Yeah, I'll just state for the record, when reviewing this request, we did look at it in terms of compatibility under the current comprehensive plan, and it does show that this subdivision is located within an area that the comprehensive plan intended for this suburban residential development. We also reviewed this in conjunction with item number 7 on the agenda, which is the proposed sketch plan, and did find that the sketch plan and layout supported the R6 requirements along with this requested rezoning, and for that reason did recommend approval for it.
Is there anyone else here that wishes to speak for this? Anyone else wishing to speak for this? Okay. Is there anyone here wishing to speak against this request? Okay. Do we have any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion for this request.
Make a motion we approve with the planning board staff recommendation. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Next item, the second reading, to rezone 52.487 acres located on Ebenezer Road, zone AR1. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. And next item, the sketch plan. Ms. Clemens, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, so in conjunction with the rezoning that we just heard, the sketch plan was submitted to show the proposed lots under the new R6 zoning. And we did find that based on the sketch plan, it largely complied with the requirements of that zoning district, and so we did recommend approval.
Okay. All right. Anybody like to comment on the sketch plan?
For the record, Toss Allen Engineering, I think we've covered everything, but if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Okay. Anyone wish to speak against the sketch plan? Any questions from the board? Hearing none, I'll entertain the motion.
Make a motion we approve with the planning board staff recommendation.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
I believe I need to step down as this is on the petition. It's like rotating.
They say the public hearing, number 8, the planning board recommends approving an application by Ann Philip Kiefer to rezone 1 acre located at 1204 Mill Pond Road from R1 to AR1 to combine with the adjacent property map 446, parcel number 7, in the 5th district. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to speak for this?
This is awkward. Never done this in 7.5 years. This is a piece of property my family and I bought. We bought the larger tract adjacent to it, and we also bought 1 acre adjacent to it for access, and I'm just asking to rezone that 1 acre so I can recombine it with the larger tract and have a single tract. More housekeeping than anything.
All right. Anyone else would like to speak for this? Anyone want to speak against it? Anything from the commission? Not, I'll entertain a motion to. Okay.
I make a motion to approve the planning board and staff recommendations.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, likewise. All right, moving on down to the, Number 9, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by M. Phillips, Chief to rezone 1 acre located at 1204 Mill Pond Road from R1 to AR1 to combine with adjacent property, map 446, parcel number 7 and 50. I'm going to entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Have a motion? Second. Have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, likewise, unanimous. All right, the next thing on our agenda is new business. We have 8 of those. The first thing on new business is a refund. Consideration to approve a refund request of Georgia Transform Corporation in the amount of $3,273.28 for a property located at 2789 Highway 21 South. And
Yes. Ms. Janice is going to speak on
Okay.
this item. Janice Bevel, Chief Appraiser, Board of Tax Assessors. This was a tax refund request that came into us on March of 2018 with return and application for Freeport for 2017. And according to Georgia 48541.1, failure to file property, the application and schedule shall constitute a waiver of the exemption on the part of the person's firm or corporation failing to make the application for such exemption for that year. That kind of shut the door to the board to move forward or do anything with that.
well, did they have a time limit there if they went through to another
They
day?
had they filed in 2017 by June 1st, they would have gotten a 50% percentage, but then after that date passes, yes, there's no waiver for any other percentages to be applied to that.
So after that went out, that's it.
Yeah, and so we didn't receive this until 2018, which was a year later when we received the return and the application for 2018.
Anybody have any questions on this on the board? Sort of cut and dry according to the way I look at it. No questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
2, 1. The recommendation is alternative 2.
All right, I'll amend my motion to approve alternative number 2.
Is that what we want?
Yes. Yeah, and do not approve the refund as requested. Number 2 would be right.
Alternative 2.
And I'll second.
Have a motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, it's passed unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 2, new business. Easement. Consideration to approve 3 easement agreements between Effingham County Board of Commissioners and Southern Telecom Incorporated.
Put this over to me, okay. Basically, I've been in contact with Southern Telecom. They're upgrading their fiber optic line from Augusta down to Valdosta, and it's going across Effingham County along the existing Southern Company power line, which is owned by the same company as Southern Telecom. This new fiber optic goes across 3 properties owned by the county, and there's some enumeration for the easement to upgrade it to include the fiber optic. The language has been sent over to the attorney for review. We made some modifications, but there was some concerns about the broadness of the easement, and I believe Commissioner Burdett's also got some concerns about the broadness of the easements. But I think I don't think that there's anything to really oppose, but we might need to look at lessening some of the restrictions that they're placing on the county. But in general, we don't want to block the fiber optic. Obviously, rural telecom is a big issue in today's market and needs to be looked at. So staff is recommending that we approve alternative number 1 and approve the 3 easements with that recommendation.
Chairman, I'm gonna step down that way. I forgot, this is Georgia Power, that's my floor.
All right. All floors, Any more discussion on it?
I would like to table this until we get a little more information on the easement itself and the restrictions that are placed on it, unless somebody's here to speak on that tonight. This is the biggest concern is the restrictions and the fair competition and how it splits things up. It's much more broad easement than I've seen in the past with Georgia Power and some other companies. Like Mr. Davis said, I'm not opposed to it. I'd just like to see some more information, maybe see if we can make that a little more palatable for future business.
I'll second that, the table. Do you have a time limit that you'd like to table that to next meeting or 2 meetings?
Next meeting would be
Next
fine.
meeting, okay.
All right, I got a motion and a second.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me 1 second. Maybe not the next meeting, because that would mean if we're going to make any revisions, they would have to be done really by this Friday. So that may not be able to happen, so I don't think we'll further in the future.
So the next meeting will be November 6th.
November 6th.
Yes, sir.
Is that what you want to make a motion?
We accept the
I'd like
motion.
to make a motion, we table this to November 6th in order to get more information on these.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed likewise. All right, as far as the return. New business number 3 is agreement. Consideration to approve an intergovernmental agreement by and between the Effingham County School District and the Effingham County Sheriff's Office for a school resource deputy program. Steve?
Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, we have an agreement that we've been operating under since 2005. This is basically renewing it. We've been operating under a 75-25 split with the school board, them paying the 75% and then the board of commissioners paying the 25%. We utilize the school resource officers during the summer months for the sheriff's department, not just for the school system. They've reached out, they've added 2 SROs in our current budget, in FY19 budget. That was under that 75-25 split. However, Dr. Shearhouse reached out to me and the sheriff requesting an additional SRO for the school system. In today's environment with that they're really focusing a lot on school safety, and he wanted some help from the system and asked us to pay for that 8th SRO. And rather than having some that were paying a percentage and some that we weren't, I recommended that we change the percentage and give them an additional 5% discount, which would mean we wouldn't pay for the entire SRO. It's $60-something thousand for a new sheriff's deputy on an annualized basis with all the benefits. This will cost us $42,000 in our this year's budget. And I will also point out that we're in mid-budget, so they just added a 7th SRO this week. So I believe that we can absorb the $40,000 in this year's budget without making a budget amendment. However, we would have to look at that moving forward. So we would have to adjust next year's budget to accommodate that 8th SRO. The staff has reviewed it. The attorney has reviewed the contract, and we are recommending option number 1 and approving the new SRO agreement.
Well, this is a very sticky subject here. I've been looking at this very closely all week, and due to the events that's been going on the last 10 years, this definitely raises concern. I do feel 100% we need to protect our kids. I have kids in the school system, but I feel that our current contract, 75-25, is fair and equitable. As you stated, we use these resource officers in the summertime. I think us paying 25% of it is generous. I think if we really look at it, we make it even back down from 25%. But we have a good relationship with the Board of Education. I agree, we still need to help out where we can, but I just don't think with all the services we provide the county, we're operating, or we remain operating under our current millage. We've done a good job of that, providing the services. I still think this is a fair contract at 75-25. And here again, I want to be clear to everyone attending here. I want to be clear to the board. I don't want to get this misconstrued. Safety of our kids is number 1. I don't want that to get twisted. I just feel that this contract that we currently have is fair, and I would like to see it stay at 75-25.
And you took it, so what you said, you took it on your own to offer the extra 5% yourself?
Well, it was a discussion on what they originally asked for. We were just, obviously bringing it to the board for approval, but there was discussion on how to structure it. And during those discussions, that we felt like that was the easiest way to budget it, if that was the case. And if, Commissioner Deloach, you don't want to make the change, I would like to clarify if you would still support that adding the 8th person, because there's still a cost involved there at the 75-25 split.
I support the 8th person. I support additional resource officers if that's what our school board deems is necessary, but I still feel this is a fair and equitable contract the way we have it now. It's 75-25. So I have no problem with adding the 8th resource officer.
And I agree, I think the 75-25, but I do want to just point out, I think the resource officers do help, that we do gain value in that 25% in that they're addressing things the sheriff's office during the day would be having to send deputies over to address. So there is value in that 25%.
And they use them in the grammar schools also, according to this here. And I don't have no problem with that either, but I think we need to stick to 25-75.
And Chairman Lowe, just so you know that Chairman Corbett was involved in the discussions, the sheriff was involved in the discussion. It wasn't simply a unilateral decision from me.
The chairman is not here.
Well, I realize that.
Mr. Davis, what prompted the extra percentage? Is it a budget restraint with the Board of Education? Is it what?
Yeah, I mean, they asked us to pay for the full 8th person. So, and that would require, 75-25 split on 7 of them, and then an additional budget line item for an 8th person. And I just felt like if we were going to accommodate that, if the board approved funding an 8th person with no cost to the school board, then it would be easier for budgeting purposes to have a single line item at a lower split.
That would be totally unreasonable. The Board of Education's budget's 3 times our budget.
Last year,
Can't hear everything you're saying, sir.
Ma'am,
Can't hear what you're saying.
I'm in agreement with Commissioner Deloach.
same way, I think we should protect our children and do what it takes, but this is something that the Board of Education can handle it budget-wise. Should we do the same?
Yeah, and I would say as a kid at one of the schools with the resource officers, if we needed that aid and the school board was not going to fund it, we may have a different conversation.
I think that's true. That's true. But was it brought from the sheriff department? Or?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I wasn't involved in that discussion.
Well, to move forward, you know, we can either table this, you can make a motion to amend the contract to approve the 8 SRO with the current 75-25 split, and we can make those modifications before signing it. But that's completely up to the board on how we want to proceed.
All right. Yeah, I understand the motion.
I'll make a motion to add the 8th resource officer, but keeping it at our current percentage, with the Board of Education share at 75% and the Board of Commissioners share at 25%.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, likewise.
I would like to say though, if something were to break down and we need that and they're not wanting to move forward for the aid, I would like it to come back. At least have that discussion.
Yes,
Whatever.
we can do that.
Okay. Yes, sir.
We'd be glad to do that. All right. Move on to the next one. Number 4, plat deed. Consideration to approve a final plat and a deed to accept the infrastructure and saddle club at Belmont Glen. Phase number 3A, located off Hodgeville Road. Amendment.
Concert Development Company, Inc. is requesting the final plat approval of Saddle Club at Belmont Glen Phase 3. This phase does consist of 57 lots. Our engineering staff did inspect the infrastructure within the subdivision, and they have provided a letter recommending approval and acceptance of it. The infrastructure maintenance, security cost estimate, and warranty bond have been submitted to the county. We have reviewed the final plat and final plat checklist and have found that all of their documents are in order and do comply with the prior approvals. And the warranty deed was reviewed and approved by the county attorney. We are recommending that the commissioners approve the final plat of Saddle Club at Belmont Glen Phase 3 and accept the infrastructure in it.
Any comments from the board? Don't entertain, no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just want to say my name is C.J. Chance from Hussey Gate Bell, represent Connor Development. Just to bring everybody up to speed, this project, the PUD was actually approved, I think, in 06, 07, somewhere back then. The economy happened, and now this is the second to last phase of both Clover Point and Saddle Club. I think the last phase is more than 20, less than 30 lots. I can't remember the exact number right now. But this is the second to last phase and consistent with the rest of the development. I do have a question. I'm not sure if this is for the board or for Ms. Clement or Stephanie. I'm not sure who it's for, but with the absence of the chairman, I'm assuming that that Mr. Loper can sign the plat and okay. So we submitted the plats. They're without signatures. We'll have to obtain the signature from the owner and then have Mr. Loper's signature, and then we can report it from there if you so choose to accept. Thank you.
Any questions from the board? Not, I'll entertain a motion. Sorry about that.
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second. Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed likewise. Moving on. Number 5. Consideration to approve a contract with the Coastal Region Commission to assist in updating the county's comprehensive plan. And we've had some discussion about this, but go ahead, Steve.
Yes,
I believe Amanda's doing this. Go, I'm sorry, ma'am.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and speak on it. So this contract is for tonight for discussion. We are requesting a contract with the Coastal Regional Commission to assist in the county's comprehensive plan update, which is a requirement of the Department of Community Affairs. As the staff report details, there are 3 options that are currently before you for consideration. The first one being to enter into a contract with the Coastal Regional Commission for a basic plan at no cost. The second option being to enter into a contract with the Coastal Regional Commission for a complete plan at a cost not to exceed $25,000. And I will note that that option is for a contract with the county and the Coastal Regional Commission alone. And the third option is to enter into a contract as a joint contract with the cities of Rankin, Springfield, and Guyton with the Coastal Regional Commission to perform this update at a shared cost not to exceed $50,000. At this time, and I would like to note on the staff recommendation in your staff report, it notes that staff recommends alternative 2. However, the staff recommendation is alternative 3, so I would like to clarify that. Alternative 3 is to direct staff to negotiate with the cities to enter into a contract with the Coastal Regional Commission to complete that joint comprehensive plan update at a shared cost not to exceed $50,000. Now, we are recommending this alternative. We have had several conversations with the Coastal Regional Commission and the city representatives. We do think that this option as a joint update is the best benefit to the county so that we can look at our community goals, needs and wants countywide and to go through this process together. We have had those conversations with the cities who are in agreement and moving forward with this, so we would like the latitude to be able to enter into this joint contract to include them as well.
Now, when we say the cities are in agreement, now have they had approval from their city council? Have they had an official vote yet? Or
They have.
No, they have not. And we had a conference call yesterday with the CRC and all 3 cities to discuss this, and it's a single contract that requires all 4 signatures from one from each of the entities. So if one of their boards don't approve it, or if we don't approve it, then the contract is not going to be valid. So that's why we wanted to do recommendation number 3 if we can negotiate that. If they don't do it, we can come back and just do the county only.
Okay, what is the time limit? We're running out of time on this. We're running out of time on this. It's due 1 year from now, and it is a lot of work.
do we think we have an official vote from the cities by next meeting within the next
Yes, sir. I mean,
2 weeks?
I don't know what the city council meetings schedule is for each of the 3 cities, but I assume that their monthly meetings will fall on our off weeks. I believe that's the case, but I'm not 100% on that. But all of them are going to present it at their next meeting.
Okay, so it is on their agenda.
Well, per the representatives on the phone call yesterday, this is the reason that we've made the changes at this late date, and it was added as supplemental stuff to your agenda packet, was because we just got the contract back from the CRC yesterday. We got it over to Lee for his approval late yesterday afternoon. So everything's, we're trying, and I understand that there's a time frame, Commissioner Loper, and we pulled this off the last meeting. We didn't actually set a date because it was so hard to get all those negotiations done. But it was put on the agenda so we could try and press the issue, and that's what we've done, and we've worked hard to get to where we're at right now. And we think we're in agreement with all 3 cities, just pending, their board approvals, just like ours.
All right. We'll table this to our next meeting. We'll table this to our next meeting, and it will no go, if they're not aboard by then, they're going to be left out in the picture. But we're not going to stick our neck out with them, because Rankin said they were going to do their own. The city of Springfield might go with us, but we don't know about Guyton or Rankin. So we'll table this for 2 weeks, and we will okay it for the county, with or without the municipalities. That's my motion.
That's your motion. That wasn't our recommendation, but that's.
I know that. We're running out of time.
There's no way to make a motion where we can do that, and if they don't approve, that we can go ahead and have in our motion to move with the alternative,
Yes,
just us. I mean, I'd rather just keep it, there's something keeping it moving.
That's what,
And what happens if one, I'm just saying this for example, say Guyton and Springfield decide to go with us and Rankin sits out. I mean, we can still do it, or is it has to be county in all three cities? I mean, can it be some of the cities?
the contract is all 3 cities.
Is the county footing the entire bill?
No, it's a shared cost. It won't cost us any more to do the joint plan.
That's fine, that's
The reason they can do it cheaper all three, because the CRC has to check all three of them. They got to check what we got, what the city of Springfield's got, what Guyton's got, and they got to check all of them. So they done a lot of this work when they just do for the county. So if they combine all 4 of them together, it's no cost, what, $25,000 more for the 3 municipalities. But we're running out of time, and Steve knows that. And that's the reason I put it back on the agenda from our last meeting. It was on there. And we took it off, and I told the CRC, and we're running out of time. So we've got to have it done sometime by our next meeting, some way. And any way you want to make that, we can go ahead and okay it. If they don't have it done in 2 weeks, then we send an hours in, and if Springfield's on there, we'll do it. Whoever's on board in 2 weeks, we'll go with it. If they're not, we'll send it.
Well, what if I make a motion to approve alternative 3 with a timeline of our next meeting? And if someone is out, we put it back on the agenda and readdress it the next meeting. But if so happens all 3 come online, we just proceed forward.
I'll second that.
That's about the same. I mean,
That's the same thing. I'll second that. You got a motion to second? Well, go ahead, Mr. Brett. You want to talk?
No, I don't. Brett Bennett, City of Springfield. That's kind of what I was actually going to suggest, because whether the county does it or doesn't do it first, if it goes to us, all the cities, we don't know if the county's going to do it. So when it comes back to y'all, what if it's not approved? So, I mean, regardless of where we start, we got the same issue. As of today, it's my understanding staff at each city is going to recommend to their board to approve it. No offense, but politicians can be unpredictable at times. So none of us know what each board is going to do, but it's my understanding as of today, all 3 staff are going to recommend approval, and Alan at CRC has confirmed that there's sufficient time to get it completed.
So you okay with our a motion and second?
Yes, I am.
All right, thank you.
Are you good with that motion, Stephanie?
Yeah, please repeat it.
Okay, all right. I'll make a motion to approve alternative 3, which includes the 3 cities, Rankin, Springfield, and City of Guyton, for this to be completed by our next meeting. And if it is not completed by the next meeting, we will have this on the agenda to discuss our next meeting day for the county only.
I'll second that.
I think you might need to let somebody else.
All right.
I'll second
Got a motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, none. All right, moving right along. Number 6. Discussion on keeping of chickens within single-family residential districts. Amanda, you're the chicken woman today.
That's right. And I'll try to paraphrase. I certainly won't read the entire report that I prepared for you. But going back to the Commissioner's regular meeting on August 7th, we did have a public presentation from a resident who was requesting that we look at and consider possible revisions to allow for the keeping of poultry within residential districts. Now, this issue was last discussed with the county back in 2012. However, there was no action that was being taken, or no action taken at that time. So in response to the request and the presentation that we heard on August 7th, I did prepare this report to kind of look at our current ordinances, to outline some best practices and other trends that other communities are doing in support of these backyard chickens in residential districts. The goal would be to kind of put together some discussion topics for the commissioners to see if we wanted to look at making these revisions to kind of open up the keeping of chickens within our single-family residential districts. Now, currently, we do allow chickens to be kept within the agricultural residential districts, that's the AR1 and AR2, but they are expressly prohibited from being kept within the single-family districts, which would encompass the R1, R1A, and R6. Looking at some other jurisdictions across the state, there are many jurisdictions that have adopted ordinances within the past 10 and 15 years to provide for this within single-family residential districts. Almost all of them do come with restrictions and regulations. And the report further outlines some of those kind of key elements that need to be looked at when regulating this use. It touches on minimum lot area requirements. As well as limiting the number of chickens. It also has information in here about setback requirements for housing structures and coops for the keeping of chickens, enclosures, and also general prohibitions on roosters and slaughtering activity. These are things that may be, present in the agricultural districts, but typically whenever we're considering it for residential districts, you would want a prohibition on these activities associated with that. If we wanted to move forward with possible revisions, based on any discussions that might be had tonight, I would recommend that the next steps be to put together some draft amendments that we could then put forth the planning board as well as the commissions for further discussion.
You've got some good information in for us, and I think you need to proceed with it and come up with something that we can do it, because, chickens are not that, I got 10 chickens and they're not any problem.
Well,
They don't really get rational if you don't have any roosters, and this prohibit roosters, right?
Yeah.
Prohibit slaughter.
So anyway.
Yeah, there's history. I mean, when you think about the slaughtering aspect of it, I was just thinking of people having chickens for the eggs. Have you had a chance, this gentleman was here at Expo, have you had a chance to look at any of this? Have you worked with the main company?
I have. Kevin Edwards, live in your district, actually. I did review the report. I found it very reasonable. I did have one request. They had a 200-foot minimum for a coop from a dwelling. And if you're going residential, you're not always going to have a 200-foot space to do that. So I would like you to take that into consideration as well. I know they've come up with options in Savannah and Chatham County that's less than that. And I think the biggest thing on that is the smells, the odors that come from a chicken coop. That's typically where you're going to get your odors. And making sure that if you have someone with chickens in a residential area, it does have to be kept clean. That's the biggest thing.
Thank you. I think you need to go ahead and proceed with the thing and come up with something. I think I saw where it is 200 feet. You might want to consider it 150 feet or something.
I will just, note for the record in response to Mr. Edwards, that 200-foot requirement is what we currently have in our ordinance. And again, we understand that 200-foot separation is intended for agricultural lots, which are generally much larger. So as we're looking at possible revisions, taking into account that residential districts are smaller lot sizes, we will need to look at an adjustment to that requirement as well.
What do y'all think? You think we need to go proceed?
And I'll bring up one issue that's, I've been working with Amanda on. It's actually in Commissioner Burdett's district, but somehow during the transition, I kind of have been helping these folks along. But it's an AR1 zoning, but I believe it's less than 2 acres. It's non-conforming. They began housing hogs. Then it's, other animals. But the neighbors, because the distance is to dwelling, well, one side of their property has a pond with a dog where they spend family time, and they're right by the animals.
So it's just, we've got to be careful, and we've got to figure it out, do it right. But
Is there anything in this that would, not penalize, but if, just say there is somebody that has the chicken coop and they're not maintaining it, and we're having numerous complaints, how would we address something like that? I mean, I guess code enforcement, I mean, but
it's difficult.
Are you looking for comments?
You know, I would say code enforcement would be the method for, responding to complaints of that nature. But I would think that if the issue was, unsanitary conditions or not keeping it up, that there might also be involvement, from other agencies, perhaps, health or animal control.
Right.
And we
But I'm
can't,
ready to move forward.
But anyway, would someone else like to speak about the chickens? If you come to the mic and repeat your name, please.
Yes, I'm Elizabeth Lewis, and I'm a neighbor of the lady that Mr. Kiefer just spoke about her dog. I'm over 200 feet from the chicken coop, but now I have an empty house next door to me, and I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be sold. So these people with a chicken coop now they're either alpacas or llamas. There's 4 or 5 of those there on an acre and a half. And so I'm very concerned about the requirements and what we can do because I do not want to have horses or alpacas living next door to me when that house sells. So even though I'm not right next door to the people who have those now, I feel like it's a concern for the neighborhood now. Since he's adding on, he had the hog and the chickens, and they get out. They were out this morning, one of them. And so we just don't know, unless we get an ordinance, what can they move in that neighborhood?
This
This is a little different issue, just so we're clear, and I think a lot of the contributing issue with this situation is it's a non-conforming AR1 zone. We require 5 acres, and at some point, we ended up with an acre and a half in all AR1. I don't know how prevalent that is across the county.
It's a bunch of
Probably is.
I live in one of them.
Can I speak to that, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Right now in the residential area, and I realize we're talking 2 different things, residential versus agricultural residential. They stipulate a difference between livestock and poultry, and that separates that whole issue in the residential area. Now, in her case, it's non-conforming, so I understand that's a totally different issue. But they do stipulate that in the residential zones that no livestock, and then it's separate for no poultry.
And this addresses naturally nothing but chicken or poultry.
This is just chicken.
This is just chickens. Or
This
just
is
poultry.
open for discussion. Would anyone else like to speak?
I have one other thing. I'm concerned about E. coli, the manure from these animals. They are livestock to me, and it's right by a ditch, so I don't know what's going to happen when it rains. And it runs out the ditch. It goes to Goshen. It goes probably eventually to the Savannah River. So that's another concern too, about the waste from the chickens and the llamas or whatever they are. I'm not sure what they are, but they're big animals, and just concerned about the runoff.
Well, if they just have chicken and they keep it clean, you won't have a bunch of runoff. They shouldn't have.
Well, these are huge animals, probably. I don't know how much manure they would, expand every day, but I think that's a problem too.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else like to speak?
Hello, my name is Carol Hogue, the microphone. I am requesting that you table the subject because as of September 28th, the county is working so hard to get code enforcement, zoning, everything together, and that's when they were able to put in for a zoning officer. We don't have the capacity to enforce any rules or make sure this is within compliance of this or that or whatever. When we can't take care of cars in yards, refrigerators, and every other darn thing you see in the county. And like I say, they're double stepping. If we just give them time to get caught up, get the compliance officers online, and then we can go ahead with these things, add to our list.
This is only discussion night. We will not make a decision on the night.
Okay, but I wanted you to be aware of that.
But you do make a good point, so.
You know? I mean, if I'm calling you about the smell of chickens, and you can't take care of the empty cars and stuff like that, but I know everybody's got a good heart and wants to take care of it, and everybody's working real hard to do that. But now we've got to get the officers in place first, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Anyone else? This is only discussion only. All we can do is tell you to proceed and come up with something and bring it back to the board. Is that all right with y'all? All right. The next thing on the agenda.
Can you make a motion on that or anything, or just?
No, it's just a discussion, so. It's meeting, consideration to approve to cancel the November 20th, 2018 commission meeting. Stephanie?
Mr. Chairman, if you recall, at our last meeting during committee reports, we discussed if you all would like to consider changing the date for our November 20th meeting or canceling that meeting. It's the same week as Thanksgiving. That time of the year is usually pretty quiet around here. Most of the real work has been brought before you, and travel consideration for staff is usually out of the office around that time. So staff recommends to cancel the meeting, but it's in your hands to change that date or move forward with canceling it.
That's what we typically cancel them.
Yes, we do.
We can handle it on another meeting day.
Something comes up, we can always have a call meeting.
Call a meeting, yes, sir. Yeah.
Any other comments? Sorry about that.
Make a motion to approve alternative number 1.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. 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 Opposed, likewise.
Commissioner Lowe, before we go forward, I also point out, and I'm sorry I didn't talk to Stephanie about this beforehand, but we might want to also start thinking about the January 1st meeting. It is, the first meeting falls on January 1st.
Yeah, we
So,
talked about that last time.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we might want to start looking at making modifications or canceling that meeting as well. I'm sorry,
All right.
Commissioner Lowe.
All right, the next thing is item number 8, new business, and Mr. Clarence Morgan is going to got the information on this.
Okay, before Clarence begins, are we approving something, or are we discussing something? What are we doing?
I thought, at agenda approval, I thought it was for discussion.
Did you say? I assume we would have discussion, and then from the projects we see, I think Mr. Morgan is going to get pricing together, and I think at a later time, he would come back to us, I guess, get the staff and have an action item later.
Yes, sir. I actually removed this from the agenda last week based on, we had some budgetary issues and changes between what the original list was versus what you're going to see today. So we're going to have this as a staff report for discussion with the board, but just so you know that we're trying to work out a final deal, and then also put out, if the board has any changes that they want to make to it, we can make those changes. We could put out an RFP because the funding on this is over our constraints, so it will have to be bid, and then it will come back to the board for approval for those bids, so. Yes.
Okay. I gave you a report. If you look at the first full page after the cover, between the rec board and myself, we met at Sand Hill on 3 different occasions, and then on the 4th occasion we met with Commissioner Floyd to discuss what needed to be done at Sand Hill. As Mr. Davis said, these suggestions are a little above the 150 that y'all have, it was in the fiscal budget, but I think with some critiquing and some bidding out, that we could get close to these items. And as I go down, I'll tell you how we can get on some of them. Like the first one is the soccer entrance is to remove the creosote poles, add 6-foot black vinyl fence around the front and around the side. I also got you a diagram behind the second page of the Sand Hill plot. We could always go to 5 feet to save money instead of 6 feet. So all that can possibly decrease the price. To add an outdoor basketball court with Versa kit, and that is we have 0 basketball goals in the county, outside area. City of Lincoln had one and City of Springfield had one. So this will be our first one in the county. At batting cages, addition to the playground with a fence, I would group 2 items that you see in the back of your thing of pictures. We definitely need some improvement over there. If you know anything about playground, haven't been any improvement in 18 years over there. So whatever we can do now at a later date will make that playground that much better. And it's out in the area, so the kids can roam around as they see fit. By putting a 4-foot fence, it will help. Disc golf course, you got a diagram in your packages. It would be a championship type disc golf course. I've talked to some people involved with disc golf, and it would be one of the better ones in the round in the southeast United States. We could possibly hold 4 major tournaments and probably bring in $125,000 4 times a year, which say the least. Pool in Port Wentworth is going to benefit probably more than Effingham will be. Hopefully I can get some of the whole sponsors to get some of the prices down on that. Definitely going to hit the Port Wentworth Chamber of Commerce and the West Chatham Pool Chamber of Commerce to help sponsor some holes. New soccer goals, portable pitching mound. Right now we build pitching mounds over there. A new entrance gate. $2 park. You look at your diagram to the right, one for small dog, one for large dog, and we have 0 in Effingham County as of now. A pavilion near the soccer field, upgraded and painted with new picnic table. Add another soccer field between where the creosote post is and the first soccer field, and we maybe could get that done in house, and just the cost would be only the pipe and
Well, I think that's a good point there. That's one thing we talked about at the rec board meeting last week. I believe there's a lot of those projects we can do in-house, which will help us with our costs.
Right. Then do a beach volleyball court. If you know anything about the Sand Hill, we have a big sandy area that we had to fence off 2 years ago because we got tired of pulling people out that park there for soccer. So we got the infrastructure already there. We just got to add some more sand and put the poles and net up. And then netting above the fence. Those who play baseball and softball at Sand Hill know sometimes we're lucky we don't get hit with a foul ball because we got no netting. So this is what the rec board and I had come up with above the 150, but I don't think it's going to be that much once you start pricing everything out.
Well, I told one of the members of the rec board that Versa Court was one of the more expensive items. They only got 1 quote.
Right. And that's, yeah, we went by what, we had not bidded out anything.
When I started this conversation, there's been a lot of infrastructure put into this new complex, and I want to see some upgrades at Sand Hill. I know we set a number of $150,000, but I want to see the improvements at Sand Hill. I want to see things on our side.
Have you put a priority on any of these, like which ones you?
The basketball courts, I was pushing for. There's no public basketball courts at the rec department. I talked to quite a few people that have problems for the kids finding a place to play basketball or practice. I want that basketball court.
And that is a problem that sometimes we can provide a gym for the team at a given time. We can't. We probably could add 10 or 15 more things to this list. This is just the top of the priority list.
We can let farmers test out the dog park, see how that goes.
And the dog park, I will tell you real quick, dog park is a minor cost of this.
Yeah, basically just need space.
Yeah.
No, the playground upgrades, I don't know how much these other pieces you said.
I would love, if we could do it, I took off about $18,000, $20,000 what I had shown it to Steve. So we need it, but we also can make maybe another year to add.
I'd like to get it what we can get. I'd like to get all of it if there's a way to find money. But I want the court done right. We've done everything else first class. I want what we do over at Sand Hill first class.
Yeah, I know when we first talked about the Sand Hill, there was a lot of discussion on parking, but after a lot of people, they prefer to see the other thing than parking down the line. And, to say the least, when we built Sand Hill in 03, 04, in the commie tank, we probably had lots of this stuff done, but commie tank, and we only went for our money allowed.
I was glad to see the batting cages on here.
Yeah.
I think that's really important, I think.
If y'all give Forrest $500,000, I can spend it. If you give him $150,000, $200,000, we can spend it.
This is for the community.
Yeah, for Sand Hill, for his district, and I'm picking up Mr. Forrest, he knows that.
You might want to wait for staff reports before you approve $500,000.
And I'm just joking.
We can do what the planning board, the rec board, and Mr. Morley wants here. I'd like to try to get it.
Yeah. And I don't think we much offer 150 if we go from 6 foot to 5 foot fence and do a couple of things. I think we'll save more money than we realize.
And like you said, the Versa court as well, it actually doubles the price of the basketball courts.
It's about, without getting competitive bid, it's around 18 to 20,000. But it's also the going rate that a lot of recreation department going instead of concrete.
Right. It's safer. I don't know that much about it. I just took it in the recreation planning board. In the discussion I had there. We can discuss that.
Now, these are recommendations.
We had to do things like a beach volleyball court. We're doing any kind of study to see if how many people actually use this, or, I'm all for doing stuff in the community and putting these things in. Basketball court seems like a no-brainer, but, the last thing I want to do is spend taxpayer money to build something and it not get used.
Right.
But didn't you say with the volleyball court, we already had sand in place?
We got majority of sand. I think you're looking at $4,000 or $5,000 to build a volleyball, and it could be even less, because we actually can get sand hauled. If the county, if we pick it up for $50 load, it's delivered to $400 load.
Regardless of cost, I just hate to see things unused.
And the reason the volleyball court, we put that because the sand is already there. Otherwise, it wouldn't have got put on the list.
Yeah, we have rec leagues of volleyball currently, don't we?
We have women volleyball, girl volleyball, and we're getting a lot of requests to do co-ed. And I think beach volleyball will be used more than you realize, but no more than it's going to cost us to do. And if it was $20,000, $30,000, it wouldn't be on this list.
Well, I spoke to Forrest before the meeting, and I told him I was excited to see the list, excited to see some new things getting done at Sand Hill. And my opinion on the basketball court is, if we're going to do it, I'd like to see it done right, and not scale back on it.
I never realized we didn't have a single core outside court.
Zero. And AAU team is the one that play year round. I play one basketball, and they have a hard time finding facilities.
Well, that was the play I got. You see kids out at Pine River when I pass there going home. They're out there on Sundays with their parents, like practicing or whatever. There is, like, yeah.
And if you see where I put the basketball court, I put near the school, that way the Sand Hill Elementary School could also use it during the day when it's not being used. That's why I put it over there in that area. Instead of putting 8-foot fence, we probably could put 6-foot fence to cut the cost back. So there's different ways you can save some money and critique it and still, and the fence is the black vinyl fence that we already got at Sand Hill. It's not something that will stand out, it will add to the structure.
We're also making some technology improvements out there as well. We're going to be running the fiber optic line out there and moving credit card machines and things of that nature, cameras for security. So we're doing that as well as a separate list and a separate budget.
In back of your thing, I also enclosed some newsletter that we have sent out the last 4 weeks about recreation news that we sent out to all our departments. Looking forward to it. Like I said, Sand Hill has been way more event than the economy had time. Any more questions? Thank y'all.
Thank you, Travis. Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm David Saudi. I fly out there quite often. What is going to happen to the radio-controlled airfield if there's going to be a golf course goes in?
Nothing. It'll still be up and running.
It'll still be up and running? Okay.
Thank you.
Maybe shut down for a morning on a big golf tournament.
Can crash land on the golf course. Anyone else got any questions? All right, I want to take a break before we go into reports, so we want to go ahead. All right. Go ahead, Steve. Thank you all for coming.
As was stated a little bit earlier during one of the agenda items, that we have advertised our code enforcement position. We're trying to move forward and make some changes. Hey, can you guys step outside first, please? So, we're still doing reports.
Oh, I'm sorry, I still resist.
No, ma'am.
Sorry.
So we've advertised that code enforcement position, and we also have reached out. We have a construction appeal board that hasn't been seated in the last couple of years. We've reached out to past board members to see if they'd be willing to serve again. They are. We're going to have a slate of candidates for the board to approve at the next board meeting. That way, if we do enforce some rules, they have some place to appeal to prior to going to any kind of litigation or anything like that. We are doing a contract extension through a change order on the Blue Jay water main due to the unforeseen circumstances that happened along that project. Commissioner Floyd, you're aware of the solar farm from Georgia Power. There's next board meeting, we're also going to have a workshop beforehand to discuss the sports complex and the gym and the phase 2 and 3. We got our bids back in today on the McCall Road and Blue Jay intersection engineering contract. We had 10 bidders, and it's coming in much less than we expected, so that's excellent news there. And the sheriff's office is being run through the employee benefit fund. They're nonprofit over there. That we're doing a cancer awareness program this month, and we'll be doing some T-shirts about Effingham Strong and showing some of our team colors for the month of October. And the last thing, and last but not least, and probably the most saddening one, is we've got the quotes in from Blue Cross Blue Shield on our insurance increases. It's 23.8% increase year over year. So we're looking at a $600,000 to $700,000 increase on our insurance. And, we're looking at alternatives. We're still negotiating with them. We have our representatives with our contractor to reach out to them and work on other options. We've looked at self-insured. The savings off of self-insured really is not substantial enough for the additional risk that we would take on by being self-insured. We also have asked them to reach out to other providers other than Blue Cross Blue Shield to compare and make sure these numbers are accurate, because we're looking at them and our claims are up and our prescription claims are up, but it's not up 23%. So I'm pushing back on the numbers and trying to get this negotiated down. But
Is there any update about Memorial?
No, they're removing that, but however, the only update I do have on it, if we want to be able to use Memorial anymore under our plan, Blue Cross Blue Shield. The only good part is Effingham Hospital themselves, they've got joint doctors with Memorial. If you go and you can have Memorial doctors that are your doctor. They're affiliated. They're affiliated here, and they will honor Blue Cross Blue Shield for the Memorial doctors at Effingham Hospital.
But outside of that, it doesn't look like Blue Cross Blue Shield is going to come to an agreement with Memorial.
No, it's the Hospital Corporation of America, which owns Memorial, is breaking ties with Blue Cross Blue Shield, unfortunately. And, you can still go there, it'd just be an outer network, additional costs for the individuals. But, insurance are skyrocketing across the world. We have prepared for this. We've got contingency funds in the budget, but we certainly don't want to pay more than our fair share, and we're working on it. So, but be looking for that coming in the next, I'm not sure if we're going to be ready to go at the next board meeting, but certainly by the first one in November.
Is USI, are they our agent record?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're going to bring it to us like we have in the past with different deductibles. I think we're 19.
We offered for the first time last year, we offered two options to our employees. And the base plan that was an 80-20, but the buyout option, the premium plan, was 90-10. And they just choose to pay the difference. There's additional cost for that for the employee, but certainly the benefits and the deductible was less as well. I think the deductible was $2,500 on the base plan and $1,500 on the premium plan. And we're going to try not to change that if we can, but we're looking at that option as well. And then maybe putting some of it back to the employees with a minor increase there too. So we're looking at all options right now, trying to make the savings and see how it'll fit within the budget. But, it's tough decisions. Yeah, yes, sir. And we'll bring our best recommendation to you and then move forward from there. But that's, I think that's everything I've got.
What other companies have been priced besides Blue Cross?
No, at this point. I mean, it's Blue Cross Blue Shield. Even the self-insured was going to be, how do you word that? It'd still be handled through Blue Cross Blue Shield, but it would be, the risk pool would be on the self-insured side, but they would still administer the plan. So that's the word I was trying to look for. So, but we've requested those numbers, and we're waiting on those for other firms like Aetna and others.
Have good luck with
Humana. Yes, sir.
And then their claims, they did not have Blue Cross and Humana in the past. Humana's miles ahead.
That's the fund that's coming up. So.
I find that will ever give as a small business person. Having to carry everything myself. I continue every year and do the same thing on a very small basis, but Humana always comes up with time. Price-wise and quality.
Anyone else? That's it?
Any other staff members?
Very briefly, at your desk, You have 3 constitutional amendments that are being proposed for the general election ballot in November. Please review those at your leisure. You also have your animal control monthly report for September. And just a reminder for those who will be attending the leadership conference in Jekyll, begins on Wednesday, October 10th, wraps up on Friday, October 12th. ACCG is wanting to recognize county commissioners this year who have served in the armed forces. So they created an Excel spreadsheet for every commissioner in all 159 counties. You are on it, Mr. Floyd. Is there any other commissioner who has served in the armed forces? Ms. Burdette, I know you want. They're just recognizing commissioners.
Okay.
So it's just the 2 of you. I need to respond to that email, so it's just the 2 of you. Yes?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm drinking.
Thank you.
I'm still on constitutional amendment.
Do you have any questions about that, Phil? That's all I've got.
Any commissioners got anything?
Yeah, just one thing I wanted to mention. This request came up at the Recreation Board meeting last week. At the next meeting, we have our workshop starting at 3 o'clock. The request was if there was not an extreme amount of people that attended, if we could meet back here, I guess in the social hall area around kind of the round table setting that we had, one of the first workshops we had for phase 1, that they would appreciate that. I told them I didn't think that would be a problem. I think the main thing is we advertise the time and place. As long as we do that, we are covered. So I just wanted to bring that up to y'all. If that is okay with y'all, we'll meet back there next time if the space permits. And that's all I have.
And we'll set up both rooms for it, Commissioner Deloach, and if it gets too crowded in a standing room only or something, we can shift back over to here if we need to.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Phil? All right. What happened to the building on 119 out here? We surfaced that building and it's like it's torn down now. What's the...
Yes, sir. We surplused the building itself so we could tear it down. The plan was to put a parking lot there for overflow parking for elections.
Who's tearing it down?
That's our staff. Facilities maintenance tore the building down.
Could they do it cheaper than somebody else could?
Yeah, they've done it intermittently between other, emergency calls and things of that nature. So, yeah, I mean, we own the equipment and we're already paying the personnel, so, yes, sir. There's actually no cost at this point. We'll have some cost and maybe some of the gravel that we put down for the parking lot.
Well, you got to pay for all that stuff that you're loading up. I mean, you got to get rid of the stuff so you don't cost you a lot anyway. We need to go to the executive session for a few minutes.
Okay?
I don't know if anybody else, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Lee, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Well, we need to go here minus you, Steve, with commissioners and the clerk.
Make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel, property, and litigation.
Second. Motion to second, all in favor, say aye. This will be short.
Second.
Pardon?
Who seconded the motion, please?
I say.